My name is Jared Jenkins, and today I'll be talking to you about drinking and driving and why people should not do it. My thesis statement is everyone makes mistakes, but don't let drinking and driving be the one to define your decisions, because it may impact your future. Drinking and driving facts. According to the Addiction Center, 1.5 million are arrested each year. 10,265 people were killed in alcohol-related accidents, and ages 21 through 25 are most likely to drink and drive. The consequences of drinking and driving, which is why you should not do it. Your driver's license is revoked, which now, how are you going to get to point A to point B? How are you going to get to your job? How are you going to get to other things? And you can't depend on yourself. You have to depend on other people, and they have to take time out of their schedule to drive you to point A to point B. Background checks for jobs, which is bad too, because if you're applying for a big time company or just a simple job, they see that blemish on your resume, you will not get hired. They will not want you because they feel like you have a lot of static coming with you, and they don't want to take that chance. Your current job will be affected. You have court dates you have to go to, and you have to skip those hours. You have to skip that time that you were supposed to be at work to do court dates. You have jail time, which you can't do anything about that. If you're in jail, you obviously can't go to work from jail. How would that happen? And then community service, which from community service, you have to spend time out of your day doing things instead of actually being at your job doing work that you were supposed to finish. And that all interferes with work hours. Drinking effects. According to alcohol, physical health, and drinking and driving, it affects reaction time. Depending on how many drinks you have, you should wait an hour before driving, but still consider drinking and driving, and your level will still be at point 8, which is not legal. So you will still need to not drink and drive. You will still be in trouble. You'll still get arrested and have to go through all these protocols and consequences. Coordination. Since the brain is under the influence, you have poor decision making and slower hand-eye coordination, which is destined sooner or later to be involved in a crash, which most of the time it's not even the one that actually drinking and driving that is killed. It's the innocent ones. The ones that didn't drink and drive and obeyed the law are the ones that end up being killed. And you're hurting their families. You might be hurting yourself, obviously, because of jail and jobs don't want you anymore. And probably a lot of your friends and family members decided to separate themselves from you since you did make a poor decision that you will not be able to come back from. Their families are probably hating you just as much. But what you did was take an innocent person, an innocent soul, and now they could have been feeding their families. Now how are they going to eat? They could have been doing a lot of things to help their family out, and you took that person from them. Then you have concentration. It's hard to concentrate when under the influence because it goes along with vision. As your vision is blurred, weaker eye muscle coordination, like I said, with the slow hand-eye coordination, then you easily get distracted by bright lights or other certain things or distinct sounds. You can easily lose your concentration on the road to look at something else, which can also affect you being in a crash. Then judgment. It comes with poor decision making. When you're under the influence, the activity of the brain causes poor decisions. Something with the brain waves and alcohol, they don't mix. So this is why you should not drink and drive. Drinking and drive. According to the drunk driving philosophy, some get lucky and get sentenced lightly, or they get community service. But most of the time, that's not the case, as some could be indicted for murder for drinking and driving if you kill somebody in an accident, or just can be sentenced 25 to life because you put other lives at danger and you were reckless driving. And that's it. The sources are the Addiction Center, which I used. Then Backtrack, which is also another one. Then I used the Alcohol, Physical Health, Drinking and Driving. And I did not get to the Lone Star one. Here are my sources. And here are my slides. Now, since I didn't make the time, I'm about to elaborate even more. So, from drinking and driving, I'll tell a story. So my dad, he was in a drinking and driving. He wasn't in an accident, but he was arrested for it. And he was lucky that he was arrested for it instead of killing somebody. If he killed somebody, he would have had much more consequences than he had. He was lucky because when he got arrested, all they gave him was probation for a year, community service, and monitor sobriety because he had to blow on this thing on his truck to actually start it. His driver's license wasn't revoked. So it was easy for him to do it. It was easy because he had when he couldn't drink. And then there was a camera on the windshield. So if he drunk after, it would be a big penalty and fines could go along with that or jail time could go with that. And nowadays, if you kill somebody while drinking and driving, it messes up your reputation, vehicle impoundment. Like I said with my dad, he had to monitor sobriety, and then jail, obviously. And depending on how serious, if it's a big accident to where you kill somebody, then you better have good lawyers because it'll be bad. Then large fines, and then I have another story about my cousin Sedaria. She was involved in a drinking and driving accident, but she was actually the innocent one. She didn't die, thankfully. But the drinking and driver, he knew the consequences that came with it. Because if he didn't, he wouldn't have drove off knowing, or he didn't even try to help. He did a hit and run because he knew what type of trouble he would be in if he got caught. They ended up going to the hospital, but they ended up surviving. But she ended up in a neck brace for 9 months. And that affected the family in a bad way. So that just shows you that you need to make better decisions. And if being under the influence, you don't make the best decisions. So try to call an Uber, but be responsible with your drinking. And don't drink and drive. As simple as that. Because if you do, bad things are destined to happen sooner or later. You might get away with it now and from time to come, but eventually it'll come back to haunt you. And eventually it'll come back to bite you.